Hello everyone. Let's get back to the editing process. So where we left off last time, we were, let's pop this up. We were on this screen, and I remember trying to give you an example of a pad and some video that I had want you to see, and that didn't work out. So I'll play that example for you, have that ready for you, and we'll go through the rest of this. So first off, reminder what pad is. Pad is what you have at the beginning or the end of a take. So when somebody's saying a line or whatever, you want a little bit of a few seconds before and a few seconds afterwards. The reason why you want that is so that the reason why you want that is so that if you need to do any type of transitions or whatever before that take or after that take, then you have the spare room. Because or say you need to end it after they talk, and then they don't give you enough time to fade out. Well, then that other stuff that they say after what they were supposed to say will either end up in your final product, or you'll just have to do like a very sudden just stop to the video. Also, a reason why you may want pad is if you're trying to do some transitions, and it doesn't have to be somebody talking. It could just be maybe just some video that you shoot, and it has to be maybe some precise movement or something. Well, if you have a few seconds before it, then it kind of allows you to do maybe some type of dissolve or wipe or whatever, and you're not cutting out part of the video that you wanted to see as you do this slow pan or whatever. So without any further ado, oh, that's me. All right. So this first video is basically people saying some lines, but there was no pad at the end. So at the end of what they're saying, you should be able to count to at least, I don't know, 3 seconds, 3 Mississippi, before they go away or say something else that has nothing to do with their lines. So let me go ahead and play this.
Yeah, just this fraction. Yeah, perfect. Okay, in 3. Take 3. In 5, 4, 3.
Oasis. We have 2 55-plus banquets a year. That's happening September the 20th, Sunday night. Old personality.
September the 20th. See you there. Okay, let's do it one more time. Oh, I guess we will, huh?
So for that example, she said she wanted to do it one more time. Well, there's not enough time to fade out, so that's without pad. Let me show you what it would look like with pad.
We have 2 55-plus banquets a year. That's happening Sunday, September the 20th.
So if you're 55 plus, or if you're going to be 55 this year, this banquet is for you.
Personality.
September the 20th. See you there.
Got it.
Okay.
So in that instance, let's see. Oh. So in that instance, you can tell that they waited a little bit longer, and that just makes it easier to edit. So cutaways, I think I talked about that before, but basically it's cutting to a different shot that's related to whatever the primary action is. So if I think an example I used was say maybe there's a comedian telling a joke. Well, they may, after the comedian tells a joke, they may show a cutaway of someone laughing and apparently, with the idea that they're laughing at that particular joke. So that'd be an example of a cutaway. Or maybe showing some kids looking bored in a classroom, and then you can cut and the teacher going on and on and on about something, right? Maybe cutting to a clock, and just giving an idea of how long time is, or maybe show that clock and then maybe dissolve to another shot of the later on in time on that same clock, whatever. But anyway, that'd be cutting away from the primary action of seeing the kids looking bored in a classroom. All right, don't think we went over an ambient sound. Let me check to see if there's anybody in the chat. No? All right. So with ambient sound, that's is sound that kind of that helps you realize where you are. So another word for it is environmental sound or a room tone. So let's say I'm doing delivering some type of monologue or some type of script, and I'm doing so at a football game. You can see the UAPB stadium behind me. You can hear people and whatever. Okay, that's a particular sound. Now let's say I have video of some other aspect of the game, maybe concession stand, maybe maybe just something on the field, but I'm doing a voiceover. Usually voiceovers are not done in the field. They're done in some little soundproof booth, or just somewhere where a person can be heard clearly. Now the problem with that is that in that sound booth, you don't have the roar of the crowd. So what you do is you record some of your room tone or some of that ambient sound, and also with it being recorded on, say, a separate audio track, you can adjust the levels of it, so therefore it's not too loud or too soft to go with the audio track of whatever the person's supposed to be, of the person speaking. Also, some of these things help give you an idea of, it may even give you an idea of where you are. So if you're, let's say, outside the basketball gym at the Hyper, right? The H.O. Clemens Arena, okay? Well, one way that you could, outside of it, you may not be able to tell. You just see, walls, vending machines, whatever. But if you have, say, if you can hear the squeaks of tennis shoes, then that lets you know that, hey, I'm at least near a basketball court. That'd be an example of some type of environmental sound. Okay. A slate. So a slate is what you see in the movies. Well, actually, the Final Cut Pro 10 icon is a slate, but it has like a rainbow color to it. Basically, what it is a little clapper thing that they do before takes. So it gives you information about what take they're doing, what scene. Also, the sound is used for syncing. If you're doing multiple cameras and you want to have an audio spike in your waveform, which I may be getting a little bit too advanced, then you can see that on your nonlinear editing system to help sync up your shots from different cameras. So, but yeah, the primary purpose of it though is to just let you know, okay, we're on take 7, take 9, take 11, whatever. And the reason why that's recorded before the take occurs is because you can see at the beginning of each take, okay, what number is this? The reason why you need to know that is because if you know that take, 4 was the one that was the best, you don't have to watch the whole thing and then, oh, let's pop up the slate. Oh, yes, yeah, this was pretty good. What take was it? Take 3? Oh, Oh, well, I guess take 4 is the one that we really want. No, you can tell. Sometimes, you know, when you're recording stuff, you're making mental notes of, okay, yeah, most of these weren't good, but take 4, that was the one. So when I go back and I record these, and you know, that you don't have to look through all of the footage again. You just go for the take that you think was the best, or at least start there. And with framing your shots, so what that means is sometimes you know how something's going to be edited, so therefore you shoot that way. So if, say, when you're watching the news, okay, the local news, they may have, say, an over-the-shoulder shot, basically meaning like there's some type of graphic that appears over the shoulder. Now, to frame for that shot, usually the camera is turned a little bit, so that way the anchor isn't centered. So the reason why is just gives room to have that graphic on the screen, but you don't, you know, you're also not you're not covering up the anchor with the graphics. So yeah, sometimes there's framing for that, or sometimes maybe there's a lower third that needs to pop up at the bottom of the screen. Well, if you have a shot that's just way too tight, then, and you got a lower third right there, then you know you're cutting off, you know, it's covering, you know, somebody's mouth or something else. So the framing, sometimes you know how something's going to be used, so you want to frame accordingly. Yeah. So, oh, I was gonna say in that video clip that I had shown you, something about the framing in that situation, and let me adjust my output to make sure that the video doesn't get too choppy. Okay, so in that video, something that you may have noticed is that let's see, let's pop that up. Okay, just put a character. Okay, something you may have noticed is that there's some space. Let's see if I can show you. The whole frame of the video isn't covered with the green screen. That's for a couple reasons. You know, with the green screen, you don't want to have them too close to the wall, and I think with 2 people, you know, they just take up a lot more space. But this project still turned out fine, and had, you know, some graphics behind them and all that. But the reason why I wasn't sweating about this is because I knew that when I edited, I was going to crop this out. So I didn't have to worry about, okay, scoot that closer to the wall, so that way we can have the whole screen, you know, with the blue, with the green in the background, because you could think that if you didn't know how you were going to edit it, but because I knew that I had the capability in my editing to cut out the sides, then I don't need to have all of the background be covered with that green that I'm eventually going to key out anyway. So that's another example of just knowing how you're going to use that video later on can adjust, you know, maybe how you shoot something. So anyway, let's move. My mouse is. Just a second. Okay, I'm gonna have to give me a second. I'm gonna have to pop that file back up again. Okay, I think yeah, give me just a second. Sorry about this. I don't know why. Okay, it's messing up so much. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that. After the shooting for post-production, something that you need to know about is logging footage. So with logging footage, that's basically where you keep a list of shots, what shot was at which particular time code. You may also include like the number of takes, a description of what it is that you shot. So the reason why you do this is because say you're working on some long project and it takes months for this project to get done, okay? You're not going to remember what you shot during week 2, I don't know, 4 weeks later. So, but you can go back and look at the log of the footage and you can remember, oh, I already got that shot, or in this particular interview they said this person said something really important about 5 minutes in. So there's no way you're going to remember all of that. So, and it doesn't have to be some long 3-month project. It could be just maybe something that you're working on for 2 days, or it could just be, I don't know, 3 interviews. Well, however much footage you're dealing with, the chances of you remembering every single thing in order, in detail, and how long each shot was and all that kind of stuff is probably not going to happen. So with logging your footage, it helps you remember what's on your tape. Also, when you're looking for footage, you can find it a whole lot faster. So you don't have to just go through clips 1 through 25 if you already know that you need clip number 18. So also, when you have it listed somehow, what your shots are, or maybe a gist of what someone said in an interview. If you're working on a story, and whether it be a news story, documentary, film, or whatever, when you already have an idea of the shots that you know that you're going to want, when you're shooting and interviewing or getting sound from people, sometimes there's just like a light bulb that goes off and it's like, yes, that's something that's definitely going to make it in, okay? Or that particular take is definitely going to be the one that we use. Or I really like this shot of how the doves flew above the whatever at this particular time. So when you have those things, and they're kind of like maybe little cornerstones of whatever it is that you're making, well, when you have those fresh on your mind, you can already have an idea, okay, well, since I know I'm going to use this dove shot, then I may want to use this soundbite of this person talking about, I don't know, winged creatures. I don't know. But anyway, it kind of helps you already put your stuff together before you actually even sit down and edit. So, there's a lot of different ways of logging ways of logging footage. So yeah, like the paper edit is kind of like just looking and already making up an idea of what you're going to do in the story or whatever you're working on. Field log is yeah, before you even put it in the computer, you already have an idea of you have your footage. Yeah, and VR log, hold on. Yeah, it's just basically they're all just doing the same thing, but in different stages of putting a project together. Let's see if this goes to the next slide. It does not. Okay. Let's see. Good news is we don't have too many more slides left. Oh, okay. There you go. So, this is an example of a log sheet. Let's see. Should be. Okay, so yeah, this is an example of a log sheet, and you don't have to do it to this extent. So, so things like media number, like in the old days, you may be using, a bunch of different tapes. So just give you an idea of what tape you use, because you may be going through tapes and tapes and tapes on something, or in today's digital era, it may be which SD card did you shoot on, which SD card did you use on a particular day. Yeah, and this has the scenes and the take numbers 1, 2, 3 or whatever. If you want to circle for the good ones or whatever, that's fine. Like I said, you don't really have to be this detailed, but this is just to give you an idea of things that could be on a log sheet. If you were, actually someone paying attention to the time code, then you could actually have that. And this one, it just has, if the take was good or not good. So OK or NG is for not good. So if it's not good, then it's just absolutely, yeah, we're not going to use it. So there may be different things like sound or car brakes or the sound of sneakers squeaking in a gym. Here it says remarks. Some of them, it might be description of what you actually see. So like say on this one, it says pedestrian reaction. So, a shot of people walking but reacting to something. And to get even more detailed, and we'll go over this later in the class, but about vectors, it just kind of lets you know the direction that the action is occurring in in the video. So if it's somebody walking from left to right, then this vector would kind of apply. So, and let's see if we can move on. Or if it'll just take a second. All right. Well, I'll close it again. I'll just guess. Oh, okay. I guess maybe I'll just have to give it a couple seconds to close before, before going to the next clip. Anyway, so these are some of the things that you would find on a log sheet. Talked about those in detail a little bit. So yeah, the tape or clip number if you're working with a lot of tapes, time code. So I'll explain time code later on. It's just basically it breaks down to hours, minutes, seconds, and frames, and we'll go into detail about that later on. Shot duration. The reason why this is important is because you may have, say, 2 sound bites of something that needs to be said. But if you're running, low on time, if somebody says it in 15 seconds and somebody says it in 30 seconds, well then, in that case, you'll probably want to choose a person who said whatever in 15 seconds. So that way, you can get to, basically, you can make whatever time limit it is that you have. Or maybe it's just, yeah, I'll just stick with that one. Yeah, which scene, which shot, or, which take. Basically, it lets you know if take 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever was good. Yeah, the scene is like the bigger version of the wider picture of what's going on in that part of the story. Talked about the okay or not good. Describing the shot. Yeah, talked about this also. Describing the shot or the evaluations of the shot. Let's see. should it clicked a little sooner. I don't know if you're seeing my little wheel of computer processing going on. And I really don't have to close out again. Okay. Okay, so moving on. I guess that was another look at the log sheet. But moving on to time code. So, told you we talked about this sooner, or told we talked about this later. So with time code in video, there's a very specific number for every fraction of a second. So this is referred to as time code. So like I said before, it refers to hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. Now I'm sure you've all heard of hours and minutes and seconds, but for frames, that's an even smaller measure of time. So with the frame, there's, depending on the video, the type of video, is 30 frames in a second. Now for film, they have 24 frames, and a lot of cameras shoot in 60 frames, and like super slow motion stuff, that's shot at least 90 frames per second, or 120 frames per second, or maybe 500 frames per second. Now what that means, now a frame, before I wow you with more numbers, a frame is basically, when I say 30 frames per second, that means 30 pictures between the time you can go from one Mississippi to two Mississippi. So in that amount of time, the camera takes 30 pictures. So that's a lot, okay? Now with where was I? With the counting for 30 frames per second, it's not like with minutes where you get to 60 minutes and then you roll over to an hour, or 60 seconds and then after 59 seconds, at 60 it's at a minute. Well, with frames, once it gets to 29, you're still less than 1 second. At 30, you roll over to another second. So sometimes, back in the day, I had to do math with frame numbers and all that kind of stuff, and it was not fun. But with time code though, it remains the same no matter what device you're playing it on. The reason why this is the way it was relevant and the way that it's still relevant. The way that it was relevant was back when people were using tapes, with some type of tape format. Well, you had a thing called time code and you had a thing called control track. Anyway, the point is that with control track, whenever you popped that tape into a different VCR, a different camcorder, or whatever, the numbers automatically just cleared to 0. So if you're trying to find, okay, well, this thing is at this particular moment because the number said so on the screen, but then you pop it into a different device, well, then you don't know where you are anymore. But with time code, it stays the same no matter what device you put that tape in. So, and that just basically helps. So if you're a photog shooting something, and you want to go and you get back to the TV station, you need to edit it, and you put it into one of those big giant editing things, then when you put the tape in, you still remember, okay, or you could see the time code in the camera or whatever, you know that this particular thing happens at 5 minutes, 15 seconds, and 14 frames. So that's going to be the same no matter what device you're on, so that it just helps you find that stuff faster. Now, with SD cards, you don't really have that issue, but you still need to know, okay, if I recorded this clip number 00145, and at, 25 seconds into it, that's when somebody, says something that's that I wanted to, use. Well, then whether you put that in Final Cut Pro 10 in the TV studio, or whether you put it into another editing program, maybe Adobe Premiere Pro, whatever, it's still with that clip number 00145, and at 5 minutes, 15 seconds, and 14 frames, you're still going to have that same sound bite no matter what device you're using it. So anyway, that's how it even applies to SD cards. So, So with time code, and this is some real specific stuff, but when you're working on bigger projects, it will come into play. Now for this class, you won't be doing projects big enough to where it'll matter, but sometimes when you are dealing with settings and you're dealing with time code, now time code, I said, is 30 frames per second, but the real Jeopardy answer for it is actually 29.97 frames per second. So that 300th of a 3/10, I don't know, of a second, where does it go? Okay, so to keep things balanced, the way they deal with that is they have a thing called drop frame, where every now and then a little slice, a few frames are sliced out of the project. Now the reason why you do that is so that, let's say you were recording something, I don't know, say for 2 hours, okay? 2 hours, and then these fractions of frames are eventually going to add up. Say you're working with 2 cameras and you're doing a multi-camera shoot, and you need to be able to cut from one camera to the other seamlessly. Then if you have, say, one camera that is using drop frame and the other one that's not, well then the further in time you go, the further those 2 videos are going to be out of sync. So with non-drop frame, let's see, overlook drop frame, time code. With that one, there's a slight discrepancy between the frame count and the actual elapsed clock. Now, if you're working on something that's 30 seconds, then that's really not going to affect you. If you something commercial, it's really not going to matter. But for longer projects, that little fraction of a second does actually matter. Because it keeps stacking up over time, like, I don't know, interest or late fees or whatever. And we made it. So that is the end of that portion of the editing process, about just actually getting it into the computer. So what we'll do next, let's see, I don't know if I can go back without it. Oh, now it's just hopping through. Oh, and it's frozen again. So now that we've finished that, it's time for a test. So we'll have our test a week from today, and I'll put a study guide on Blackboard, and I'll double check to make, I'm sure your notes are there, but I'll double check to make sure that the handouts are there also, so you don't have to look at an entire video every time you want to get a piece of information. That's gonna be it, and